Today in RTA we find ourselves back in more familiar surroundings. After a pretty successful round 4 on the Phoenix Oval, we are back on the road courses today for round 5, this one at Watkins Glen. Sitting in 14th in the standings, 129 points, but still well within range of the top 10, which we will be hoping to get into by the end of the season. Unfortunately, attendance isn't the best here for this round, but it does mean that there's a good opportunity to get some good points on the board. Qualifying not as important then as well, but still always good to get off on the right foot. So let's see how far up the grid we can start for race 1. So just about to get started on my best lap in qualifying. Important to get a good exit out of the final corner as we cross the line to start this lap. Into turn 1, braking about the 150 is where I felt comfortable. A bit wider from the apex there than would be ideal, and I found that you didn't really want to be on the exit curve too much. It was better to kind of not ride it too much because you get a better exit. Up the hill through the S's along this longest straight on the track before we head to the infamous bus stop chicane. Braking as late as I would there, again a bit wide at the first apex, but taking it nicely throughout the rest of it, keeping it nice and tidy as we head into the long right hander. Getting on the power as early as you can. Could have used more track on the outside there, carried more speed. Into turn 6 then, being patient before you get on the throttle. Again, could have used more of the track on the outside as I then head into the hairpin of the toe of the boot. Again, being patient to get on the throttle, but you want to get on it as early as you can to set up the exit down this fairly long straight before we head into the heavy braking zone of the heel. A very tricky corner I was finding in practice, was struggling to get the car turned in, but managed to get pretty nicely there before we head up the hill into the next hairpin, turn 9. Again, the car wants to get away from you on the exit, but get the power down. Into the second to last corner then, flat out in these cars, upshifted 5th as you go through it, and then into the final corner. Little tab of the brakes to get the car turned in down to 4th gear, and again just as the start of the lap, important to get a good exit as we cross the line to set at 1:33.18, which is a bit disappointing. That lap came very close to the start of the session, and I think I definitely had 2 or 3 tenths in that lap, but just wasn't able to string it all together. So with the poor turnout for this one, only 15 of us on the grid, still puts me in a good starting position in 7th place. So let's see what we can do in race 1. So as we get ready to go to the lights here, you can see a bit distracted as we're about to get going, and I just about realised that the lights have came on, so not fully set for this start, but we managed to get the revs up a bit and we dropped the clutch and don't get a terrible start, which I'm a bit surprised at, but thankfully we managed to hold on to our position. Jean was having a look down our inside as we headed into turn 1, then cut to the outside and managed to take us around the outside there, so great move by Jean, and not the best start by myself, but luckily we only lose the 1 position and we are still in this race. Heading down to the bus stop chicane then, for the first time we have Dermot Toomey looming large in the rear view mirror. Not really somewhere you're going to go for a move from that far back, especially on lap 1. Don't get the greatest run through this section of turns, just not fully locked into this race yet, and with the cold tyres, it's something you kind of have to be a bit mindful of for the opening lap or 2 in these cars. But I'll eventually settle into a rhythm and hopefully make some progress up the grid. Not much else happened for the rest of lap 1, so skipping ahead, heading into the bus stop on lap 2, and as we go through you can see smoke up ahead. That is Dylan McClemens, who, very surprising and uncharacteristic mistake there by Dylan, just losing it by himself heading through there. Luckily he was out of the way of everybody was able to get on through safely and no further damage was done, so up a place for us now, up into P6. We do have a group of 4 cars up ahead, that being Jean, Sean, Tony and Rory, and that is the fight for 2nd place, so we are well in the fight for a good result in this one. And Dermot behind is thinking the same in the mirror. Yeah, uses the push to pass to get close, has a look up the inside of turn 8. I went in a bit deep there just to leave him the room in case he was going to fully go for it, but just a bit too far back on that occasion and he has to stay behind for now. But that did kind of tell me that Dermot wasn't in the mood for hanging around. He was willing to use his push to pass and try and get this overtake done. As you can see in the top left, I'm using a bit now on this pitch straight just to stay ahead of it, but I have 60 seconds left. Dermot is under 50, so he is being much more aggressive on the button at this early stage of the race and out of turn 1. I don't get the greatest exit. Dermot gets a good one, uses the push to pass. I decide to just let him go for now, save my boost, and hopefully if he uses all of his to try and catch up to the cars in front, they can battle, which will mean I can catch up to them and maybe we can make an overtake later on in this race. And as we skip forward a couple of minutes, that is pretty much exactly what happened. Dermot did catch up to the cars in front. Now he's starting to fall back a bit closer to myself. I did manage to stay pretty close, but now the pace has kind of dropped off a bit from Dermot. And if you look at the push to pass situation, I am in a much better position going on to the last lap and a half than Dermot. So there's definitely an opportunity here to get 6th place. You could see there out of turn 7, Dermot getting a bit of a slide, and just shows that he might be struggling on tyres a small bit. That really kind of set up my, I suppose, strategy you'd call it, going on to this final lap. I knew that on the run up to the bus stop chicane you can use the maximum 15 seconds, so with 20 left that means I have 5 to use throughout the rest of the lap, and originally I was thinking I'll just use the 5 seconds here on the pitch straight so I get closer to use it on the run up the hill, but I decided to save it for later on the lap just in case I need it. After seeing Dermot having a slide coming out of turn 7, I was just thinking if he has a slide like that again, then I'll be in a great position to make an overtake with him on 0 seconds of push to pass left, and I have the 5 remaining in my back pocket. So heading up to the bus stop then, Dermot now out of push to pass. I've used my 15 seconds and still have the 5 remaining for hopefully getting that run out of turn 7 down to turn 8. Didn't get as close as I would have really liked on that straight up to the bus stop, and a bit further back than would be ideal than I would have thought I'd been to Dermot at this stage of the lap. So I was kind of thinking the opportunity to get this P6 is probably gone unless Dermot makes a mistake. I can see here on the exit turn 7 again he gets a big slide, much bigger than he did on the previous lap. He tries to defend. I have the push to pass to get alongside, get the inside line and get ahead under braking up into P6. Heading into the hairpin then, just hugging the middle or staying in the middle of the track, not letting Dermot have the full inside line, slightly defending but making sure I get a good run as well, and out or through the second to last corner, flat out, so no opportunity there. Into the final corner then, playing it a little bit safer than I had been, but making sure to get just a good enough exit that we can stay ahead and come across the line to finish race 1 in P6. So although it wasn't the most action-packed race throughout from my side, it was still fun to drive in terms of just seeing how it would play out, playing my strategy, which did work in the end, getting that P6 from Dermot. Don't think there was anything anybody could have done to catch Campto up in the lead of that one, but fairly close to from P2 down to P8 really. We were all kind of in the same vicinity throughout that one, so could have been the chance for more in that race, but I feel like I was probably at my limit for a lot of it, and very happy to come away with a P6 in that one, which will be where I start in race 2. So this time making sure I'm paying attention to when we're actually going to start this race, and as the lights go off we get going here for race 2 in Watkins Glen. Bit of wheel spin, so not the best start, still not too bad though, not great compared to the cars ahead. And we are clear heading into turn 1. On the exit, just getting on the curb, and getting on the curb unsettled the car. I thought I had saved it, and then I tried to get back on the throttle. The car wasn't fully recovered from that slide and just shot me back left into the barrier. You can hear there from the crew chief, damage to the front end. I've lost my wing completely. And even though don't have the meatball flag because of that, still going to come into the pits, get damage repaired with the quick repair, because I'm not close to anybody in front anyway that I'm going to be able to fight with, so might as well make the car as drivable as it can be, and basically use the rest of this race as kind of a test session, keep myself sharp and in the right mind frame, and driving as best as I can, so I can have a good chance, or give myself the best chance of recovering in race 3 to hopefully get a decent result to round out this round of the championship, which is disappointing to have to think of the race like that. We were started in a good position, felt like I had pretty okay pace that could have held that or maybe even improved. Definitely think I should have finished in the top 8 in this one, only for that rookie mistake and started in a better place for race. But unfortunately in this one it is P14, last of the running drivers, and the position that we are going to start the final race here in Watkins Glen. So as we get ready for the lights for the final time here in round 5 of the RTA Indy NXT Championship, the lights go green and we get not a great start, but not terrible compared to the other drivers around us. We pull alongside Ronan Keane and leave room on the inside, so Ronan holds onto that position. We get a good exit out of turn 1, heading up through the S's, not somewhere where I was too comfortable going side by side, especially on the opening lap, and really wanted to get past Ronan as quickly as I could here. There's already a bit of a gap forming to the cars ahead. We're heading into the bus stop chicane, no push to pass on the opening lap. There's a big puff of smoke up ahead. That was Darragh O'Connor being sent into a spin, I think, so we get a position on him, bit of a check up through the bus stop, so we managed to avoid all of that. Heading down the hill into turn 5 then, just trying to take it nice and easy. I see Ronan going a bit wide, so I know I'm going to get a better exit than him here, but still have to back out of it to not run into his rear left tyre. Into the toe, we take the outside line, keeping it as tight as I can, but still leaving a lot of room on the inside for Ronan. Get a good exit, get the power down, get the speed, and we get ahead up into now P11. A little bit of a gap to the cars ahead, so for the rest of this lap, really trying to get back into a good slipstream range before we get out of turn 1, so we can get the toe up the hill through the S's towards the bus stop chicane. Through turn 1 we are just a bit further back than would be ideal, a second behind Lee, and not really getting too great of a slipstream. In hindsight, probably should have just been on the push to pass here to make sure we caught up, but at the same time I was expecting a bit of battling up ahead, which would mean that they would fall back towards me. Even through the bus stop now, we're already after gaining a couple of tenths there, and we are now well within slipstream range of the train of cars ahead. We then skip ahead to the end of lap 2, and we were just about managed to stay in slipstream, but on the exit of the second last corner, getting on the curb and almost skateboarding a little bit, just bottoming out, meant my line into the final corner wasn't what you would really want. Lost a couple of tenths and a bit further back from the cars ahead than we would like, and it does mean that Dermot Toomey once again right behind us, heading up towards the bus stop. And just like in race 1, Dermot is pushing to try and get past. I saw he was getting close, so I used a bit of my push to pass, a bit of my boost, just to stay ahead, because I didn't feel like he was close enough that he was going to get the move done heading into the bus stop chicane, and I didn't want to go side by side through there and losing a load of time, so using the push to pass button there in defence rather than attack, which you would normally associate it with. We then move ahead onto lap 4. We've caught up to Lee, but Dermot has caught up to me a bit more as well. Again, being aggressive on his push to pass, and I'm being a bit conservative as I have been throughout this season in this race. We're side by side heading into chicane there, but just decided to back out, let Dermot take that position and not lose too much time. As up ahead, Kevin Joyce going a little bit deep into turn 5 means that him and Lee are kind of side by side there, and gives Dermot the opportunity to send it down the inside of turn 6 and get another place, getting 2 positions in the space of just a couple of corners. Still 15 minutes left in this race, pretty much just over 14 minutes, so my thought process at this point was, as usual, just kind of settle into the race, stay close to this group of cars. There's a big gap from the front of this train to the back of the next one, so it's going to be difficult with the standard of racing in RTA to close up that gap, especially when the grid is so closely matched on pace. So I was okay with the position I was in now, not coming under any pressure from behind, and come towards the end of the race then hopefully I've saved my tyres a bit, saved my push to pass, and we can make up a couple of positions in the last 5 minutes or so. But obviously if an opportunity presents itself, we're not going to pass it up, so still trying to get good exits out of turn 1. Don't get a great one on this occasion, not going to be able to put Lee under any kind of pressure, but we are going to jump on board with Dermot, who is side by side with Jordan Kelly, going to go too wide into the bus stop chicane. Jordan holds it, Dermot goes wide, goes onto the grass. We jump back on board with myself. Dermot just comes back on the track. A very poor rejoin there, takes Lee out of it, nothing he could do to avoid that, and I thought I had avoided the incident myself. As you can see here, it's hard to know what way to go in this situation. Obviously in hindsight, when you have time to think about it, I should have went hard to the right. It was obvious that Dermot was going to keep going to the left, but in the moment it's hard to think of these kind of things, and I actually did manage to avoid it until Dermot's car bounced back onto the track and just rips my rear left tyre off, and I didn't know that much damage had been done, so I was trying to get back to the pits, but obviously my car would not move from where it stopped, and a very disappointing way to pretty much come to an end. Did tow back to the pits, got the car repaired, and coming out now, Lee coming out just ahead of us, so maybe we'll be able to have a bit of a battle with him for the lofty heights of P13. But Lee did seem to have a bit more pace than me over the next couple of laps, pulled out a few tenths, and then heading through turn 7. All hope of having a fight with Lee came to an end when I, pretty much like I did at the start of race 1, just got on the curb a bit and spun the car around. But luckily kept it out of the barrier, so didn't cause any damage. I was able to keep going, but to be honest, at this point of the race I didn't really want to keep going anymore. Just wanted the next 6 minutes to go very quickly and get this round over. I did try to have a little bit of fun for the rest of this race, really pushing with the push to pass to try and set the best lap that I can. We did then get past Lee, who had to come into the pits for, not sure if he had a crash and had damage or what happened there, but we do get that position into 13th place. And then coming on to start the final lap, we get past Tony Griffin in the pits as well. I think he had a crash and had to get towed, which is unfortunate for him, and moves me up into P12, which is where we're going to finish as we come across the line to put an end to what was overall a very disappointing round 5 here at Watkins Glen. And actually, just recording this now, I've noticed that I actually finished in 13th. I didn't get that place on Tony, so when I passed him starting the last lap, it must have been to unlap myself on him, and then his pit box must have been after the start finish line, so I didn't get to pass him before getting the checker flag on the final lap, which just rubbed some salt in the wounds of this round. But with the attendance being so poor here for this race, it does mean that in the championship we get some decent points and move up 2 places into 12th. Not too far off of a top 10 here, just 3 points behind Dara O'Connor, who is currently in 10th place. So that'll be something to fight for the rest of this season. But to be totally honest, motivation to race is dwindling fairly rapidly with the poor attendance for the last couple of races. So hopefully for the rest of the season some more people will show up and race, because it just provides better entertainment for everyone really. And I know a lot of people don't like this car, but it was only the people that could really realistically fight for the wins that showed up every week. Then there'd only be 5 or 6 drivers, so it's a shame, but you can't force people to race either. So it is what it is, and we'll just have to try and get the motivation to keep going and see what we can get out of it. But that's it for my rant and for this video. Until the next one, thanks for watching and see you then.